Welcome to the Explainer. Imagine every single piece of digital security we rely on, your banking details, private messages, classified government communications, locked inside a massive, impenetrable steel vault. For decades, classical cryptography has been exactly that vault. It's robust, reliable, and honestly totally secure against any known brute force attack. But things are changing. Today, we're looking at a huge paradigm shift. We're going to explore how quantum computing is literally forging the ultimate lockpick, one that's fully capable of shattering these mathematical vaults. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. It's a slightly terrifying thought, right? What if every encrypted secret you've ever sent was already waiting to be unlocked? The reality is, the cryptographic foundations the entire modern internet is built on are basically standing on borrowed time. The protections we've all just taken for granted face an existential threat from a completely new class of computing. We aren't just talking about a faster computer here, we're talking about a machine that solves problems in a totally different dimension.
Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The looming quantum threat. 2. Mechanics of Shor's algorithm. 3. RSA versus ECC vulnerabilities. 4. The silent heist. And finally, 5. Forging new locks. Section 1. The looming quantum threat. So we're basically working against a ticking clock, and the exact moment time runs out is what we call Q-day. This is the hypothetical moment a cryptographically relevant quantum computer, or CRQC, successfully executes Shor's algorithm to break standard public key cryptography. It's the moment those vault doors just swing wide open. Now, to be totally fair, building a CRQC is an absolute engineering nightmare. Right now, we're in the noisy intermediate-scale quantum era. Current devices only have hundreds of physical qubits and pretty high error rates. To actually hit Q-day, scientists have to overcome massive hurdles. We're talking about networking together millions of physical qubits just to get the thousands of stable logical qubits you need for complex operations. But whether Q-day is 10 years away or 30 years away, the theoretical math proving it's possible, that's already here.
Section 2. Mechanics of Shor's algorithm.
That mathematical proof brings us to the real technical core of this explainer. Back in 1994, a mathematician named Peter Shor developed an algorithm that fundamentally altered the landscape of digital security. Honestly, you can think of these 4 steps like a digital heist plan. Classical computers try to break encryption by guessing, right? Like trying every single combination on a padlock. It takes forever, but Shor's algorithm doesn't guess combinations. Instead, it uses quantum superposition to evaluate a function across a massive range of inputs all at the same time. And then, and this is the absolute genius part in step 3, it uses the quantum Fourier transform, or QFT. The QFT allows the algorithm to find hidden periodic patterns in the math. Instead of testing billions of classical brute force permutations, the QFT essentially lets the quantum computer just listen to the tumblers click into place, immediately extracting the key factors.
And this brilliantly illustrates what that breakthrough looks like in mathematical notation, O of log n cubed. I really want to slow down here for a second, because this single formula represents a massive, paradigm-shifting drop in computational time. It mathematically proves that breaking our current encryption isn't some impossible puzzle. It's merely an engineering challenge.
What that formula is really telling us is that integer factorization enters something called BQP, or bounded error quantum polynomial time. This is where the polynomial time breakthrough gets incredibly stark and real for our security. See, in classical computing, figuring out the prime factors of massive numbers scales exponentially. To put that into perspective, it would literally take a supercomputer billions of years, longer than the lifespan of the universe itself. But in polynomial time, the difficulty shrinks drastically. What takes classical machines forever will take a mature quantum computer mere minutes, maybe hours. It's a total game changer.
Section 3. RSA versus ECC vulnerabilities.
So if the lockpick is really that powerful, how do our 2 biggest, most ubiquitous encryption standards hold up? On the left, we have RSA, which protects everything from your web browsing to secure email, and it relies heavily on the difficulty of integer factorization. On the right, we have ECC, or elliptic curve cryptography. ECC relies on a totally different mathematical problem called the discrete logarithm. Classically, this allows ECC to use much smaller key sizes while maintaining really tight security. But here is the devastating truth. Shor's algorithm completely dismantles both of these mathematical foundations. It adapts seamlessly from integer factorization to discrete logarithms. Basically, both are broken.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark asymmetry in the quantum resources needed to crack these systems. Look at the logical qubits required. To break an RSA 2048-bit key, A quantum computer needs about 4,000 to 6,000 logical qubits. But to break an ECC 256 key, which, remember, is actually slightly stronger against classical computers, it only takes 2,000 to 3,000 logical qubits. That means ECC will actually fall to quantum computers before RSA does. Wild, right? You'll also notice symmetric encryption like AES down at the bottom. AES uses a different quantum mechanism called Grover's algorithm, which only provides a quadratic speedup. So simply doubling the key size to AS256 keeps it safe. But our public key systems like RSA and ECC, they are fundamentally compromised.
Section 4. The silent heist.
This brings us from theoretical math to a very real, very urgent problem happening right now. Quote, adversaries with access to encrypted data can store it indefinitely, anticipating future decryption once a CRQC becomes available. This is known in the intelligence and cybersecurity communities as the harvest now, decrypt later threat model, and it is a chilling reality.
Right now, nation-state actors and advanced cybercriminals are basically acting like digital doomsday preppers. They are vacuuming up vast amounts of encrypted data. Sure, they can't read it today, but they don't need to. If data has long-term value, think classified state secrets, weapon schematics, health records, or core intellectual property, they're just hoarding it in massive data centers. When Q-Day finally arrives, they'll simply run Shor's algorithm on the stored session keys, and boom, decades of private communications will instantly become plain text. This is exactly why data minimization and strict lifecycle management are absolutely critical today, not just a problem for tomorrow. Section 5. Forging new locks.
Fortunately, we aren't just sitting around waiting for the vault to be cracked. The global cybersecurity industry is actively fighting back. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, has been standardizing post-quantum cryptography, or PQC. The absolute dominant family here is lattice-based cryptography, with algorithms like Crystal's Kyber and dilithium. Instead of relying on factoring prime numbers, lattice schemes hide data inside highly complex, multidimensional, noisy linear equations. It's essentially a mathematical maze that experts believe is incredibly resilient against both classical and quantum attacks. We also have hash-based and code-based backups waiting in the wings, just in case.
But as you can probably guess, upgrading the entire internet isn't without its technical hurdles. Take a look at this trade-off. Historically, we loved ECC because a public key was tiny, around 32 bytes. It was incredibly fast and efficient. But the new post-quantum standard, Kyber 678, that requires a public key of around 1.1 kilobytes. That is a massive increase in size. While your home broadband probably won't even blink, think about constrained environments, mobile networks, smartwatches, IoT devices, or remote industrial sensors. Pushing gigabytes of heavier cryptographic keys across these legacy networks strains bandwidth and storage enormously.
So, the crucial point is, how do we transition without completely breaking the internet? Well, the answer is hybrid cryptographic architectures. Instead of just throwing out ECC overnight, we combine it with the new post-quantum Kyber standard. During a key exchange, your computer essentially creates a shared secret using both mathematical formulas. So to break the encryption, an attacker would have to break the classical algorithm and the quantum one. This acts as the ultimate transitional bridge. It maintains backward compatibility for older systems while layering on quantum-grade armor for the future.
And that brings us to the most important takeaway of this explainer. We are entering an era of systemic transformation. Whether it's shifting to decentralized digital identities or completely overhauling enterprise network security, the foundations of digital trust are literally being rebuilt from the ground up. The math is proven, the standards are set, and the adversaries are already harvesting data as we speak. So the big question we all have to ask ourselves, our organizations and our institutions, is this: as we transition into the post-quantum era, is your data ready for Q-Day?